All right. So welcome everyone to our Tuesday night gathering. Nice to see some new faces and familiar faces joining in tonight. I truly feel that in many ways this is going to be a pivotal point or a profound moment for some of you in recognizing a lot of the things that we've been carrying or holding on to, that as we enter into the quantum field, the frequencies of where we have been do not align to where we're going. So it's kind of like the airplanes as you see them, cycling over before they land. They're dumping anything that might inhibit their safety of landing, and they have to download stuff that's not necessary. So we're going to do some download tonight. Hopefully everybody's in a place or a state of mind and being where you can do that. And yeah, so let's start with our prayer of intention. And we're just going to bring in the unity of oneness, closing our eyes for a moment, using the breath to just breathe in that beautiful relaxation energy. And as we draw it in, just see it as drawing it into the well of well-being. Bring that breath all the way in and all the way down and fill the well that is you as a divine being and a human being, learning to rise up in difficult times. And as we use that out breath, just see yourself releasing the energy and the essence of anything that is disturbing your inner wellness, your inner happiness. There's no need to hold on to anything that is hurtful or unloving. The best thing we can do right now, using the breath, bringing in the energy of relax, and breathing out, release. Just keep filling that well until you have a sense of that well of well-being is full of love, love of self, love of life, love of your own soul's purpose and how you are showing up now to present yourself in the line of service. Allow that well to continue filling and filling until it's overflowing. And as we acknowledge the overflow, just trust that whatever is necessary and needed within yourself has already been satisfied and saturated. Now, here comes the overflow and the service to others. That's what the overflow is for. It's where we get to share the best of who we are, the brightest of who we've become, and the most benevolent aspects of who we are as souls living on this beautiful planet. So just see that overflow and trust that you don't have to direct it. You don't have to monitor it. You don't have to control it. That overflow is designed to interact and interconnect with all other souls. Can be within your family, can be within your community, can just be with complete strangers, because right now, as we create this amazing network of love on the planet, each and every one is equal, and each and every one has the ability to acknowledge their own divinity and step forward and just accept that not only are they lovable, they are just as powerful and loving as anyone else. It shows up in different ways, different times, different experiences, but it is one love that we're all connected to and through. And so it is. Just let that overflow continue to replenish your well and whatever is needed, whatever is in your life and experience that you find is either troubling your soul, disrupting your flow, whatever's going on in your world and in your heart and soul. Trust right now that it is happening for an incredibly important purpose. Nothing is by accident right now. Everything is by divine design. So the more we learn to trust that, even though we may not know exactly what it means or exactly where it's going, we don't have to know everything. All we have to do is to keep that love well replenished and filled to the point where we are satisfied ourselves. And that love that we hold towards our own soul and our own being is incredibly powerful when it's acknowledged and celebrated and just invited to be part of your everyday. So the journey we're going on tonight is working with some of the aspects or illusions of the matrix. We all, at some point, you're kind of introduced to the concept that we've been playing a huge karma game. The game is, let's see how many ways we can experience a human journey, and many lifetimes invite us to explore different parts of them. We have the part of our life where we get to be the princess, and then in the next life maybe we get to be the pauper, and we get to be the smartest one in the room, and then unfortunately we get to be the one that just doesn't ever get it ever. So it really is part of the game where we are embodying a spectrum. So we choose a life lesson, we choose a theme, we choose things to experience, and as very evolved light workers, we tend to pick the extremes. But through that experience of having an extreme lifetime, you really do get to explore sort of the best of the best or the worst of the worst. And your spectrum of understanding and inner knowing, which ultimately does become wisdom, gets to fill in these beautiful orbs of light. So in other words, if you think of it like a clock, and each aspect of the time as it goes around the clock is a part of a human experience. And we just keep coming back until we fill the clock in. But it's not just the hours, it's the seconds in between as well. There's a lot that's involved in a human journey and exploring all of the ways that we can express ourselves, teach ourselves. That's ultimately what we're up to. We're not here to teach each other. We are here to observe and learn from each other, but most of all, we're here to acknowledge and accept we are in charge of our own journey. And depending on where you are on the clock, you may be at this point in your lifetime just coming into or stepping out of the victim role. Or you may be, having been part of in the last few lifetimes being part of the villain role. We all have a moment in our human journey where we get to experience all of it. And what that does is it actually is designed for us to understand from both sides what it is like to live in those two opposites. And polarity on the planet Earth is something that is very much a part of the matrix. So when you think of it, having been through the loving and unloving aspects of every part of what a human can go through, what it ultimately ends up doing is creating compassion, understanding, tolerance, patience, forgiveness. All of those things come out of the deep and inner exploring that we have been through. So when you think of conditional love, those of you in the mastery journey, which most of you here have been through that process. When you think of conditional love, we have truly and genuinely been through every human condition that we could imagine. And the matrix is designed to accommodate that. It's kind of like looking into a kaleidoscope or into fractals. I don't know if you're familiar with fractals, but you can take one color, one point of reference, and it can be scattered into multiple pieces or endless versions and variations. So that's what we've been up to in our human journey. And when you look at this particular lifetime, this is called karma completion. So what does that mean? Well, it means that you have actually done your research. You have completed your research, which is a wonderful thing. And, we can all sit there and pat ourselves on the back and go, yes, I've completed my research. And that's a wonderful thing to be able to declare before the universe and the celestial heavens, to say that I did it, I arrived. But we've got residuals. It's like we got issues because all of those are still attached to our inner core being until such time as we decide we're ready to let them go. We're ready to release them by transforming them. And a lot of what I end up seeing with people is they have the idea that they can get rid of it. Well, think of energy, and everything with energy is a circle. So if the illusion is you can get rid of it and you put it out, where is it going to go? In a circle. It's going to come back with a newer, updated version of something similar or the same. So we don't actually want to finish this research or this game of karma by sending it out where inevitably it's just going to come back. So what do we do with it? How do we handle it? How do we address it? How do we transform it? And that is done through conscious creation. This is where we become our empowered selves with the wisdom we have gained and learned, and we intentionally, deliberately, specifically address those different parts of ourselves that need to be brought into a place or a state of grace, which we call balance. So you take the worst that you've been and the best that you've been, and you merge the two together and become I am. I am both of these. I have been both of these. Both of these have taught me. I've been the victim and I've been the villain. I have been the, the elite and the richest, and I've also been the poorest of poorest. I have been all of these things. So what does that mean? It doesn't mean that that is your identity. Your identity is when you're able to take both and through forgiveness and compassion, merge them together in the center of your being as I am. And that is unconditional love. So here we're converting all the conditions into unconditional love. And it's a beautiful thing to be able to do that. Okay, so let me just go over here for a moment. And well, I'm not seeing where I can do that. I'm just making sure that everybody is on mute so we don't get the background noise. Okay, so we're going to start with the conversation in understanding how the male and female aspects of ourselves are, again, tend to be polar opposite in their purpose and in their energy fields. So the male aspect of us is very much committed to drama. He's the fixer, he's the finder, he's the provider, he's the one who has to be the one to lead the way. So in order for him to feel that he has a purpose or that his life has meaning, he is constantly searching for a battle, a war, a challenge, something that he has to be able to engage with so that he can develop his skills. And the more drama he gets involved with, the more manly or powerful he feels. That's the way it is done in the karma game. So when you think of chronically being in a drama situation where nothing ever ends, nothing's ever fixed completely, nothing's ever good enough, there's always a sense of judgment present to urge him forward and keep him moving into the next step and the next step and the next step. That is the way the mind is designed, to take the simplest of things and make as many complicated issues and problems as it possibly can to follow and to show skills and abilities to resolve things. So that's the male. He's on a mission. He's going to make sure that there is no end to the drama. And the female side of that, she is forever in a place where she's the nurturer or meant to be the caretaker of everything that is going on. She's the one that is supposed to make something happen to keep the train moving, keep the garden full, keep the house moving. And through that, it's a constant state of trauma. Her role is to make sure that there's always something for her to do so that she earns her keep, so that she feels she has value, so that she has purpose. And you can see where, where the female is never ending when it comes to creating or manifesting things to be engaged in and to be needed. That's her role. She needs to be needed, so she creates all of these trauma situations where it invites not only her to remain active, but it encourages the male to chronically have to rescue her. That's how she gets his attention. You know, she's in that position of victim or help me, I'm falling. So again, his active mind of protector and provider, he's, right there to the rescue, except that he just gets her rescued once. turns and walks away, and before he can get 3 feet away, she's in need of rescue again. That's the karma game. That's how they keep each other busy learning and researching about life. So the concept of karma, when we look at it ending, what does that actually mean? It's a graduation. It's where we get to really look at everything we've been, everything we've done, everything we've learned, all the experiences, and we bring them to a place of really learning to honor and respect what we've been willing to do, the courage we had, the strength it took, the commitment that was required. And we start and rebuild ourselves, knowing that karma is completed, but simply needs to have some of the residuals transformed into wisdom instead of it just being knowledge or memories. Both of those are wonderful things, but they usually will trigger you back into the trauma drama instead of reminding you or revealing to you that, okay, you've done that part, you've done your research, time to graduate. Now you get to go out and use everything that you've learned so that you can be everything you're meant to be, so that the world is actually a better place for having you in it. Now you get to take all of those sad stories and upsets and traumas and dramas and turn them into information or wisdom that you can be helpful and guide others. Not by so much convincing them, because you can't. It's all about living your life in a loving way. Be an example. Be a lighthouse. Be someone that they can look towards, or that they can count on, or that they can trust, that you have found a way and you're showing them the way, but you're not telling them that is the only way. You're just sharing the beauty and the wonder of your graduation in, well, this is what I've discovered and this works for me. And when I use these techniques, or I share these skills, and I live in this state of emotional balance, life is good and love is everywhere. My well is full and I am in a balanced state of well-being. So that's a beautiful thing. And when we get the karma game completed, now we're into transforming it. We're working through all of the things that we can use as far as wisdom. That's what Dharma is. Dharma is when we get to that state of awareness where we become the observer instead of the consummate participant in anything that wants to go south or sideways. It's learning to observe that and go, I recognize that, or I remember that. It's not about judging it. It's not about criticizing people when they're in it, because everybody is somewhere on their way to there. Life is a journey. Every one of us are on a path somewhere on our way to there. And the joy of what happens as we start to see, the individuals popping up and showing up there, more and more of our communities are in a place of calmness and a state of welcoming. They're manifesting together, they're co-creating together. They become supporters of each other and encouragers of each other. That's what loving community is, instead of criticism and judging the differences that we've all been through. So these are some of the ways that life has a way of moving us through this process. As we're entering into the frequencies and the energies of the quantum field, you take what normally emotion would be. Let's choose one. Let's choose frustration, because I think a lot of us have been tipping the cup of frustration now for a long time. We know what it feels like. We know what it looks like. We know what happens when we're in it, and how things are affected by it. So if you take the cup of frustration in the third dimension, it's pretty, I don't know, it's frustration is what it is. It seems that no matter how much you do, how hard you try, how far you go, inevitably you end up in the same place. Whereas when you take that same simple feeling or emotion and put it into the quantum field, all of a sudden you are being in this explosive state. So that a little tiny seed of frustration, when you're in the quantum field frequencies, you can't miss it. It blows it way, way up and way out of proportion, so that you can't miss it. And the idea of that is so that we can identify for ourselves very quickly when we are not in alignment, when we are not in a state of peace and grace and balance. So if you're noticing that things seem like noises seem louder, odors that are offensive seem worse than they've ever been, being in areas where there's a lot of activity where people are agitated and irritated, you probably find you can't handle that kind of energy and that kind of community activity anymore, because your amplifier, your magnifier and intensifier is turned way up to give you an opportunity to really see what you're creating, what you're manifesting, what you're seeing, what you're sensing, what you're feeling. Everything is explosive right now. So how do we calm that into a place of peaceful tolerance? We worked a little bit last week in some techniques and working in being able to calm ourselves. Tonight, we're going to work with some visuals where you get to consciously choose and create how to dial it down or dial it up so that your frequencies are more attuned to what is a peaceful state. So I'm hoping that that will benefit you in ways in the next few days to give it a try and apply it in moments when you get upset or triggered or frustrated. Let's see if these techniques will work for you, because the tools that we are being given right now are called essential tools for the next, I would say, probably 3 months. We are really going to need our tools to keep ourselves in alignment and in that sweet space of I'm here to observe. I am not here to enter into or continue to participate in the matrix. It has no purpose any longer. It hasn't got any value as far as teaching you something you don't already know. There is no greater fear than the fear you've been. There is no greater judgment than the judgments you've had. There's no greater pain than our physical bodies have been through. And we've all been challenged to the maximum of what we can endure. And you'll probably notice lately in the last 6 weeks, when you think you're at the point where that's as much as I can endure, soul self goes, oh no, let's just crank it up one more step. And you'll be pressured into, and this is all self-done, you'll pressure yourself into just a little more anxiety, a little more aggression, a little more frustration, a little more irritation. You're going to challenge yourself to really value what life is like without it. You'll get glimpses of it, you'll have moments of it, and those will begin to expand so that they last longer and longer. So you will spend more and more time in that loving state and less time in the unloving state. And that again is part of the spectrum. We've filled it in, we've lived it all, we've been it all, we've done it all. The question is now, what are we going to do with it? So I'm going to walk you through a little bit of meditative exercises one at a time to show you how to use some of these tools to help yourself dial it back or dial it up. If your life force is low, chances are this experience is going to require you to pay attention to dialing it up. If, on the other side, you're incredibly stressed, overworked, over too much mental stimulus going on, and your mind is going 6 different directions, I highly suggest you dial it down. But this is going to be up to each of you as an individual to be able to utilize it and experience it in the best way possible for what works for you. It's not about any one way is the only way, but I promise you, when you find your way, it's a tool that will serve you well, and it will help you get through some pretty intense moments, because the matrix right now, it's kind of like I don't know, you can call it just this big tube or box of fireworks going on. And whatever can be lit underneath us is going off. Whatever can shake us off our Our balance point, it's rumbling. Whatever can rain on our parade is coming down. The tests are coming from everywhere. And it isn't because we don't deserve to live beyond the matrix. It's because we're ready to. So these tests are coming as a compliment. They're showing you that not only are you able to live outside of the matrix, it's inviting you to accept it's time to live beyond the matrix. So that's kind of exciting. Remember, this is all being done to help you. It's not being done to trick you or test you, see if you can fail or fall. That's not what it's for. It's simply there to say, you know, you've done a really, really good job. You've got everything you need. You have your faith, you have your trust, you have your belief, you have your soul's purpose. You're on a mission and you got a vision. So let's see how many ways you can succeed and connect to that part of you so that you can really enjoy life. It's not about enjoying what's happening to others, because we are going to witness some pretty horrendous things when it comes to others. But it is very important that we recognize you can be incredibly distracted by everything that's going on around you if you choose to. But you can't change what's going on around you. You can only change what's going on within you. So the distractions will be sent in ways that we will want to stop what we're doing and rescue someone else. Or we'll want to stop what we're doing and just warn the whole world that, you know, something's not right, this isn't good. They will not hear you. They will not see you. They will not pay attention to you because they're not meant to. They're not ignoring you because they don't think you know the way or that you've found a way. They're ignoring you because they're still in the matrix. And we need to be incredibly respectful of that. Because if you spend your life force and energy trying to rescue someone else, here's what you end up doing. You interrupt their life lesson. And then they have to go and build another one. It's not helping. It really is learning to trust that they have everything they need to succeed. And that when we encourage them, when we support them in being where they are, that is the greatest gift that we can give. Lifting them up, carrying them away, trying to do it for them, it doesn't work. It just prolongs their agony. So remember that, and it's going to be a very important key that we need to keep working with is love them where they are. Don't try to change where they are. That's up to each soul to find that moment when they are ready to change what's happening. They take ownership of it, they take responsibility for it, and they find their own answer. And I can tell you that the answer to that is the source within. Every one of us has a connection to source that is divinely designed specifically for your journey and your journey only. You have no reference to anyone else's. You can relate to them. You can have compassion for them. At times you might resonate with something similar to what they're in. Pay attention to your own connection and get the strongest connection that you can build, so that in those moments when your world seems upside down or shifted sideways for whatever reason, you can quickly and consciously bring yourself back into alignment within a few breaths. And that's a whole lot better than spending or day tripping or, you know, going through the recycler again. That's not pleasant. Okay. So before I go into the actual lesson part, does anyone have any questions about the concept of karma with drama, trauma, karma, and dharma? Any questions that come to mind? No, we're all just sitting there ready to take flight off the runway. Okay. All right. So we're going to do an inner journey. If you close your eyes, you'll find that there is less distraction. You can get more attuned and connected to the inner breath. And we're going to call in through that inner breath, the Holy Spirit that will become the guide that will take you through this process. And as you invite the Holy Spirit in, just allow that well of well-being inside of you is expanded and opened to embody that Holy Spirit and fill yourself up completely again to that place of overflowing. And along with that guide of the Holy Spirit, we're going to call in higher self to stand in alliance with Holy Spirit. Breathe that in, into the awareness, into the fullness of you in your highest level state of being. And then we're going to call in the divine feminine energy, breathing that in and also allowing that to merge in with all of the Holy Spirit, divine self. Feel her presence and the role that she will play in your journey today. Calling in the male warrior. And by warrior today, we don't mean armor up. Today, we ask the warrior to leave the armor outside of the matrix. We ask the warrior to stand in very etheric and energetic light. We honor his wisdom, his knowledge, his skills and abilities, and ask that he join the team within. And inevitably, we call in the conductor of all of this activity, the conductor that is the one that knows the purest form of energy and innocence and love. We call in the inner child. And the inner child is welcomed into this empowered circle of seekers and knows that part of the role that the inner child plays is equal to every other energy and entity in that circle. Their wisdom and the inner child creativity, the inner child ability to love, and the purity of heart and innocence is one of the most powerful tools we can use and trust to be a part of us. So as you see that circle of energy in your well of well-being, they're standing there together. Their eyes are gazing into each other's eyes without any hesitation, filled with self-confidence, self-worth, self-trust, self-love. They know what they're here to do. They know what their mission is. And together they will journey forth into the tunnel that is opening up. As you gaze around, you will see an energy tunnel of light that is opening up. And all of them are standing gazing down this tunnel. And at the very, very end of the tunnel, far, far away, there is a tiny, tiny little pinpoint. And it may be that the pinpoint is dark and all around it is light. Or it may be that that tiny pinpoint is light and all around it is dark. There's no right or wrong to it. There's just your version, your preference, your wisdom that is reflected in that tiny little dot of light. Now we're going to work with the concept of how do we work with the light? What is that tiny dot? What is the purpose of that light at the end of this very long tunnel? And I just want you to take a few moments and breathe in the idea, the energy of compassion. And the more you breathe in compassion, keep focusing on that tiny little point at the end of the tunnel. And the more compassion you have, the more it expands that tiny little point begins to expand until it fills the end of the tunnel. Now we're going to continue by consciously creating the contrast. And this is where we get to see how powerful our thoughts can be. I want you to imagine that instead of compassion, we have judgment. We have concerns. We have criticism. And I want you to look at the energy at the end of the tunnel and how it contracts and becomes smaller. Feel the difference. When that light becomes smaller, how does it feel inside? For some, it may feel empty. For some, it may feel lonely. For some, it just might feel nothing at all. Nothing at all. So again, taking the next breath, we're just going to send compassion down to clear the field. The thought of compassion, the feeling of what compassion feels like. Hold that within your well of well-being. Compassion for yourself and everything you've been through, everything that's happened. And continue to fill the well until there's so much compassion for yourself that your well is filled and overflowing. Okay, so the next experience we're going to co-create together is we're going to look down the tunnel of light to that same little pinpoint that is there to help us learn and connect. And we're going to feel what it is to be happy. Feel that happiness within you in whatever way you can. Imagine something that makes you feel incredibly happy. Feel the way the heart expands. The inside of the soul starts to celebrate. The inner child is just beaming. All of the energies of your inner warriors are standing there. They're just being. Nobody feels they have to do anything. Nobody feels they have to move or change anything. They're just co-creating that energy at the end of the tunnel and letting it expand. There's happiness filling the tunnel. And now we're going to experience the contrast. I want you to be able to imagine hurt and how deeply we've all been hurt and how much hurt we hold inside and how much our heart contracts and becomes smaller and tighter and how our body is tense as the hurt fills the tunnel with darkness. It feels very different. And this is how we consciously create it. When we feel hurt, we reflect hurt. And when we live in that energy, it doesn't feel good. It is not loving. It is not kind. It is not true. It is not real. But yet we're committed to it. So let's bring back happiness. Feel the happiness rising up within again. Send it down the tunnel. Watch what happens to the energy and how it changes everything. Okay. Now we're going to work with something that is even more important because so many of those that I love and cherish have been experiencing an incredible level of physical pain. And physical pain is something that is a part of our shifting energy frequencies right now. We are shedding old frequencies in order to embody new ones. So for a moment, we're going to imagine pain And we're going to allow the pain that is in our body, whether it's in the inner child, the divine feminine, or the warrior, higher self, or Holy Spirit, we're just going to put that energy all into this field of light, like an orb of light. And we're going to ask that it be transformed by ever so slowly moving down the tunnel, gathering all of the hurt and pain, all of the suffering and sorrow, all of the sadness and loneliness, all of the grief, all of the what ifs, all of the I am nots, all of those parts of ourselves that we have felt out of alignment with the perfect light of who we are. And just let that energy orb slowly roll down the tunnel. And as it rolls down, it's going to gather and magnetically draw into itself any and all aspects of ourselves that are no longer needed, required, or necessary for our heaven on earth experience. Just let them all roll into the orb, being gathered gently, respectfully, kindly, truthfully, easily, effortlessly, until it's all the way at the end of the tunnel. And now we're going to use our power to make it smaller and smaller and smaller until it is that tiny dot at the end of the tunnel. That is the essence and the energy of the you that you were. We're not going to judge it. We're not going to fear it. We're not even going to change it. We're just going to love it. Because that tiny little dot of everything that you've been through and all that has happened is the very essence and energy of your soul. It is your wisdom. It is a gift. And as you acknowledge it and witness it and accept that it is a gift, it will begin to roll back and expand to fill the tunnel with light. And that light represents forgiveness, forgiveness of self, forgiveness of others. It reflects compassion, compassion for self, compassion for others. And as it draws ever closer to you in the center of that light that you are, standing together with all aspects of who you are, it simply merges into the essence and energy of you here and now. Your inner child is smiling and joyful. The divine feminine within is creative and expressive, knowing that she has nothing to hide. There is no reason for her to fear. It's okay for her to feel all of the feelings, because now she knows what they mean and what they are and how to work with them. The divine male is standing there in the glory of his greatness, accepting that he has a new mission. And his new mission is to live as peacefully and kindly and honestly truthful as he possibly can. That's his mission. To live and serve for love. And higher self is just expanding to wrap its energy around the three of them, embracing them as the blessings and the gifts of humanness that this whole journey has been all about, and just brings them into the heart center and holds them with such reverence and adoration. A sense of accomplishment, a sense of peace. And the Holy Spirit wraps its energy around higher self and says, welcome to the I amness of oneness and isness. It's all one. It's all here. It's all here and now. It's all you. Humanity merged with divinity, wide awake, well aware, and able to consciously create whatever is needed, heal whatever is required, know whatever is needed to be known. All in the name of heaven on earth. Nice deep sigh, drawing a nice deep breath in this honoring of self, this celebration of soul. And as you breathe out, just see yourself energetically breathing the word Dharma into the energy field. My day of Dharma is here and now. I am that I am, and I am all that is. Be grateful, be thankful, but most of all, just be love. That's our job. That's our purpose. That's our service. Just be love, be loving, and let yourself be loved. It's yours. It's a gift. No conditions. Nothing left to do, nothing left to conquer, nothing left to be, except just be yourself. And take your time with 2 or 3 breaths to just bring yourself back into this moment that we are sharing together in this circle of healing light and love. And know that you've just done the best possible thing that you could do for yourself and your soul. It's all good. It just is. Everything that it's meant to be. Okay. Yeah, take some nice deep breaths, get those shoulders rolling. Maybe just rub your hands together, get the fire burning. Yeah. Okay. So as you're ready and willing, please feel free that you can share some of your experience if you're inclined to. I do find that if you give words to your experience, it takes it to a much higher and deeper level. I call it giving it wings. Words are powerful, and when we speak them regarding our experiences, they do have a tendency to lift us higher or anchor us deeper into our self and our soul knowing. So yeah, have at it. I'm gonna have a glass of water. Who wants to chat? Wake you up and ask you to talk all at the same time. Who's ready? No, but
I'll go, Donna.
okay. Ooh, I hear. Oh, Karen, go ahead, Karen.
Well, I was explaining my session that I had a couple weeks ago, where I expressed some sounds from deep within. So when you started this experience of the well of wellness, well, that's exactly where I went in that journey. I was at the bottom of that well, and I didn't dig my way out. I didn't crack the walls of that well. I just rose up. I just heard myself say, rise up.
Mhm.
And I rose and I did what I needed to do. And that created such a safe, all the words you said tonight is what I experienced. I felt safe when I was done.
Mhm.
So today, what I've done, it seems that I emptied that well the other day. And today I have refilled it.
Good.
with something beneficial that now overflows that I can share with family and friends and community.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that feels very expansive. Very nice.
It's an endless well. It's pretty extraordinary, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll drink to that.
Thank you. Thank you, Karen. Who else is ready for a moment to just make it more real for you? Okay, go ahead, Elizabeth.
It's pretty amazing to realize that I'm not the only one having such horrible physical pain, because when you're in it, oh my gosh, you feel like you're the only one, and it can be pretty overwhelming. Thank you for that, Donna. Thank you for that. I love my tunnel. It was beautiful. I loved it. Yes, thank you.
You're very welcome. Thanks for sharing this. Oh, don't make me call on people. You know how squirmy you get if I have to do that. Come on, somebody volunteer. Okay, go ahead, Carl. Just unmute yourself.
Hi, Donna. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
I found with the tunnel, when you spoke about, my tunnel was black with a little bright dot at the very end. But when we done the vision of the ball of light going down and taking all the pain away to the very end, when I come back, my tunnel was bright light and it was beautiful. Thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome. What the black tunnel actually means is that you were unable to process or complete your emotions. The dark is the feminine, the very essence of our emotional feelings. So when the tunnel shows up in darkness, it just means she is inviting you to release all of the fear of feeling. No, there's no fear of feelings. They're there as our guidance system, our GPS. I like to call it our God director. So good for you for acknowledging that, yeah, the tunnel can show up either way, but it doesn't matter how you enter, it's how you exit. Thank you. Who else?
Thank you. Thank you.
Who else? Come on. Okay, Passionate, gonna call on you, girl. You're always good for some wonderful words of wisdom.
Thank you, Donna. Hello, everybody. I really did love the teaching, because I could really relate to it as to my stage of learning. And so I'll just maybe focus on one experience I've been having and the contrast in it. When you said we are now in a place where we can be very sensitive to what the energy is and where spirit is bringing us closer to our truth and helping us to see the contrast of it.
Yes.
So I find that is a really obvious thing that I'm experiencing, and I find it very reassuring and comforting. So when you're in that state and you're having an awareness that you might be processing something in a negative, judgmental way, and you know that is not what your heart and your higher self desires. So I find that I'm able to see that contrast and have a little more success in converting it. So I guess maybe my question to you would be, when I realize that this is not my higher self, and here's an opportunity to set aside that judgment and be in harmony, what happens to that thing I judge? Like, does that it still can be used, according to your discussion tonight, for something valuable to bring wisdom from? Absolutely. Rather than to just despise and throw it away.
Absolutely. Yeah, you can't throw it away. It's a circle.
Mhm.
So that's why I say be very careful of what you release into the energy field, particularly the quantum field, because it's going to come back multiplied many times over. So we want to make sure when it does do the depart, that you have converted it into something kind and loving, fair, true,
Mhm.
joyful, healthy. One thing I will go back to is when you said it's not my higher self.
Mhm.
Yeah, it is. Your whole team works together with you on every adventure, every judgment, every fear, every illness. All parts of the team work together to help you go through the experience. And the good news is the team now is dedicated to getting you through. Whereas before, we could get ourselves into it, and then we used to have to stew and brew and karma, trauma, drama, kind of like a washing machine. We spent a lot of time laundering things in there, thinking that if we left it there long enough, it would come out clean. Well,
Mhm.
no, we have to use our conscious creation now. And
Mhm.
that is whatever we're experiencing as showing up right now, specifically something like pain. If it's showing up as pain, what it's telling you is that you're not using your power.
Mhm.
And there's nothing more painful than that. When we choose not to use love to help ourselves, to heal ourselves, to take care of ourselves, that's incredibly painful. So the
Mhm.
pain will show up if we are not in alignment with loving ourselves. Pain shows up as a reminder. And absolutely, higher self will be standing there waiting for you to ask and to be shown, to be assisted, to be guided. But it seems that the higher we get, or the further we get down the pathway of our enlightened journey, we get to the place where we think we shouldn't have to ask.
Mhm.
Spirit should know my needs. My guides
Mhm.
know what is required. And we enter into this little journey, short though it is, of being a little arrogant and stubborn. And when we find ourselves in that, it is incredibly painful. That's simply to get us out of it and through it. It's
Mhm.
not there to punish us, which we do tend to feel when we start hurting extremely. We tend to think, what have I done wrong? I'm being punished for something. There's something wrong with me. It's not, it's just being clearly shown to you. So it's a motivator. Keep going. Don't stop here. Keep moving. Keep moving. Convert everything back to that place where we can be compassionate and loving and caring about ourselves and where we're at in the journey. We will reference other people. They show up as part of a co-creative team, but at the end of the day, they're simply the messenger. It's up to us to take the message and convert it back to love. That's our job. Getting easier as we're moving along, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't hurt more, because we can't afford to be staying in any one situation or experience for very long at this point. Yeah. But thank you for sharing that.
Thank
All
you.
right. Who else would like to share a little bit of their journey today? Who haven't we heard from? Come on, you brave souls, you can do it. No, nobody had anything happen on their journey. That's really too bad.
You have two hands up, Donna, Jamie and Matt.
All right, we've got volunteers. Okay, ladies first. Let's do Jamie. Go ahead, Jamie.
Okay, so I had something happen to me earlier this year whereby so for full disclosure, I got barracudaed. It wasn't catfish, it was barracudaed. They stole $17,000 from me. So it was a pretty big blow, and I've kind of been punishing myself ever since, because it's like I saw the signs, but then I justified it somehow. So that being said, moving forward, when you were saying, to not, to love yourself, one of the things I discovered recently is I'm very unkind to myself because I expect more
Mhm.
of myself than anybody expects of me. And I forget to be grateful for what I've gone through and that I've overcome.
Right.
I do still honestly, I really want to kick my own ass when I think about it every now and then. But at the same time, I do a reframe in my brain that if a family needed that money, I would have willingly given it anyways. So I'm trying to reprogram myself that that's what that money went to,
Mhm.
regardless of where it went.
But it doesn't change the feeling to do it that way.
It right. Well, it kind of lessens the blow a little bit because I feel like if it were something that I was able to willingly give versus somebody taking from me, then I can absorb that blow a lot better.
Okay, but you're still identifying it as a blow. So
Right.
let's take the
It's
experience.
still fresh.
Yeah, again, this is how we learn to catch ourselves going there or catch ourselves doing it. And if you take the idea of the financial blow, put it into an energy bubble and roll it down that tunnel so that
Mhm.
it can be transformed into something that is a blessing. Even though you won't know what that blessing is, you won't know, when it does show up, you probably won't connect the two. You may not, doesn't matter. Just send the energy of the experience and how it felt, send it down the tunnel and see what happens when it reaches the end. What happens, what happens to that ball when it reaches the end?
I actually feel a little bit better already.
And when that better already energy starts coming back up the tunnel and filling it, how does that change you?
Uh, I feel like my shoulders are falling a little bit. Like I feel a little bit lighter.
Do you feel relief?
Oh, yes, a little bit.
Okay. So take relief as a blessing because when you first had the blow,
Yeah.
it has an energy with it that is incredibly tense and hurtful. It has a lot to go with betrayal.
Yes.
So it's taking those moments, those memories, those issues, and energetically, consciously transforming them, convert them to something that when it does come back to you, lifts you up. That's the key to this whole game of moving out of the matrix. It's learning to consciously create and intentionally choose to convert the energy into uplifting, loving energy.
Yeah.
Can't change what happened, but you can change how you feel about it. And
And I'm
that
trying not to relive the past because that's when I think about it, that's what I'm doing. And it does nobody any favors.
it's the feeling that has
Yeah.
you attached to the past, as if there hasn't been a day go by since. It's like you're still in that shock moment until you release yourself from it. And I believe the challenges being sent our way right now are exactly this kind of thing, where we're being tested. What are you going to do with it? How are you going to handle the feeling? How are you going to convert the feeling? Or are you? Would you prefer to remain in anger and frustration and resentment? Is that a feeling that you would rather have than love? And mental mind, we go, well, no. But,
Right.
but subconscious mind may say, well, there was a lifetime when you did that to somebody else, and you do owe a debt.
Oh, I suck if I did that to somebody.
We've all done it. Whatever is happening to us, it's a
Yeah.
reflection of what we have done to others at some point.
Yeah.
And that's where the compassion comes in, where oh, okay, bingo, I got it. That's how it felt when I did that to somebody. I have now felt that myself. Karma completion. Thank you very much. Or, some of those